Well, hello everyone, and welcome to Rootstech 2017. My name is Bernice Alexander Bennett, and I'm happy to welcome two wonderful people to Rootstech 217. I have Anita Henderson and Michael Henderson. Michael Henderson is the award winning author of a book, Got Proof. And Anita Henderson, oh my goodness, she is part of and owns the genealogist writing room, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
Absolutely.
and she's also the author's coach. So, Anita, tell me, what do you think about Roots Tech 2017?
I am blown away already. It's huge. This
Yeah.
is the largest conference I've ever been to, ever. I mean, there's so many people here. The exhibit area is the most expansive I've ever seen. And the selection of workshops is, I mean, it's almost confusing, but there's something for everybody.
Yeah, and what about you, Michael?
Well, I'm excited to be here also because before NGS, I thought I had seen the biggest genealogy conference, but Ruth Tech is just basically has blown my mind, especially the exhibit floor. There's just so many opportunities to learn about genealogy and all of the various technology that's available. So I'm just excited to just get going and walking around.
Yes. Well, they're talking about telling your story and what you can learn about your family around the kitchen table. So, Anita, tell us a story.
Oh my gosh, a story around the kitchen table. You know, when I was younger, we didn't talk that much about my family's history around the kitchen table. It wasn't until I got older, and now I've had these conversations with my own mom, and she shared a story with me once about her young years as a little kid growing up in Chicago.
Mhm.
And she was this little fair skinned black child walking with her uncle down the street who's a darker man. He was arrested because they
What?
thought he had kidnapped this little white girl,
Oh,
and they were taken to the police station. He was put in jail until someone came to get
oh
him,
my goodness.
and they put her, thinking she was a little white child, on the police station desk. They gave her an ice cream cone, put the little hat on her head, and when her mom came walking through the door, who was brown, who is the sister of her uncle who was arrested, she said, "Mom," and they looked at her, snatched the hat off, snatched the ice cream cone, and then that was the end of
What a
that.
story.
Yeah, yeah,
Wow.
yeah, yeah.
And Michael.
Family history in my family has always been something I've always been curious about. And I can remember as early as age 9 years old, sitting down speaking to my mom about the family, the ancestry. I'm originally from New Orleans, Louisiana, and my history goes back all the way to both the French and Spanish colonial periods. But I didn't know any of this when I first had that initial conversation with mom. What really sparked my interest was one day I asked her about the spelling of her mother's maiden name. We
Mhm.
were talking about different people in the family, and she pronounced her mother's maiden name, and it was Mathieu. And I said, Mom, how do you say that again? She said, Mathieu. I said, spell that. She said, Mathieu. I said, where did that come from? She
Mhm.
said, well, the family is French Creole. And again, that's another kind of a broad curiosity. What does that all mean? So we got into a big conversation about the family and it growing up, but there was a part of the family history that she was not aware of. And that was the thing that initially got me started in this curious phase of my family's history. And since then, I've actually traced my ancestry all the way back to both the French and the Spanish colonial periods in New Orleans history, none of which my mom knew anything about because at that point in time when I asked her about the surname, she had a moment where she was able to tell me something that as a young child, passing on some information, she said, when I was only 6 years old, my mother passed away. And I was 9 at the time, and I realized I had my mother with me for at least 3 years longer than she had her mother. And it was almost like we stopped at that moment. And I realized then that the journey was about to begin for me. And many, many years later, I discovered really and understood what the family story was all
And
about.
it's wonderful that you were able to capture this story in writing
Yes,
in your book with
right, right,
documentation to prove everything that you wanted to know and to show others
right,
that you definitely
right.
did document your
Right.
family
I
history.
I wanted to use the opportunity to take my own personal journey as a genealogist and a family historian to show folks exactly the process. And God proof is that journey, the discovery, and the results that I was able to
Well,
achieve.
thank you so much for sharing your story with us, and thank you for speaking to me today. And oh, I look forward to hearing more about the genealogist writing room with you, Anita.
Absolutely. Thanks,
Okay,
Bernice.
All right.
thank
Thank you
you.
for
Have
having us.
fun at Roots Tech
Will do.
Live.
Looking
All right.
forward to
Thank
it.
you very
Okay,
much. All
great.
right.